for being here. We're so excited to have you. And thank you all for joining us. We're going to start with a little bit about you and a little about how you fell in love with whiskey and how it all began.
That old stuff. Well, by the way, so first and foremost, thank you all for being here. To be here at Pro Wine with all of you good people is nothing short of a dream. I mean, it's crazy. I'm here with my friends, my partners, my deep, deep brothers in making this whiskey happen, and all of you. So obviously, I was on that little show called The Vampire Diaries. It's only been seen by like 1.2 billion people.
Just a few.
But these characters, you know, they bonded, these two vampire brothers bonded on screen over bourbon. And then Paul and I bonded off screen over bourbon. So this was the most authentic thing we could have ever done, right? I know you hear a bunch of BS about celebrity brands and all that stuff. I left the business 6 years ago, so I'm not like a big celeb anymore like Paul Wesley. Paul's the Captain Kirk. He's still the big celeb. I make whiskey. But the thing is like while we're talking, let's pick up the one that's the far left with the white bubble. So this has now been open quite a while. But if you smell this nose, you're going to get a little bit of that like kind of baked banana bread. This is our flagship. You know, Paul, Lux, do you want some? You know, you don't like our whiskey, huh? You just happen to, yeah. No, but so while we're talking, before you hear me just babble off a bunch of stuff, let's try some of this and celebrate in the nostalgia and the art and the science of making whiskey. This is about bonding. Time to bond is not just a phrase. It's something we live by, and it's also a phrase that we own. We trademarked it because it meant so much to us. And I think we could all argue, or not argue, that we need bonding and togetherness now in the world more than ever. And this is the brand to do it. So to you all, try this. This is our flagship. It's quite delicious. It's approachable, yet it's complex and nuanced, so that you get all the expression of those grains expressed in harmony and balance. And I'm not trying to sound like California kumbaya. That's what it is, right? An equal sensory proportion. It's beautiful.
So many gorgeous like caramel notes, cereal notes, biscuity.
Little toasted cereal grain, but you get that high rye. And about now, you're going to get a little of that sweet residual sugar on the back end. You're sipping whiskey out of a bottle, basically.
Yeah.
And that is like one of those things that's very special. Now, that's why Paul and I bonded. That's why we're here. And we built this company to not just bring people together, but to bring together the art and science of nature and agriculture. And that is where we win. When we heal soil and we build massive regenerative, carbon capturing, regenerative food systems, like making grain for whiskey, the whole world wins. So this isn't just like some play to sell whiskey. This is a lifestyle. This is a life. And I'm happy to share it all with you. And I look forward to, jot down some notes if you want for later. That's what's special about this. And this is just the beginning, right? So you get a little of that baked banana bread. It's been open a little while now, so you might lose a little bit of the, how condensed the notes are, but it's still lovely.
Yeah.
And so the idea was we built this brand on two very distinct pillars. We knew we needed immediate approachability. I'm talking whether you're a Gen Z, well, a legal drinking age Gen Z, whether you're 21 or you're 51, that it's approachable. But it had to have a nuance and a complexity that even the snootiest, bitchiest, bearded bourbon drinkers, like I just shaved my beard. Well, Pete, you still have yours. Paul, you still have yours. Can try this and sip this and say, wait, this is a well-crafted spirit. That's what we went for. And I hope you enjoy it.
I think that's a great point to make. And last time we were talking, we talked a lot about being a celebrity brand. And I think it comes with a lot of pros and a lot of benefits, but also we talk about how actually you also have a lot more to prove. And you guys really are working on this from the ground up. So how did you get to this being your first release?
Uncompromising quality. When you compromise on quality, you compromise not just your integrity, but you compromise your ability in relationship with whoever's buying your whiskey. It's not fair to them. It's not fair to you. And it's not fair to me to put something in a bottle that I'm not 100% proud of, because life is short. Why should I try and sell you something that's not perfect? Now, it's not perfect, but not the best that I can do. And so, again, going back to those two major pillars, which was quality, approachability, but complexity. And that spans across the entire, it's something for everyone. Whether you need something that's a little more mellow, you've got this flagship 80 proof. You want something that's far more robust? Well, we hypothesized that our 80 proof whiskey could reach a vast, large consumer who was willing to try it. But the proof was in the pudding, because when we took that 80 proof flagship and turned it into an unfiltered cask strength, and we submitted it to San Francisco, to the San Francisco International Spirits Competition, which is the Tasting Alliance, which is that sort of gold stamp of approval globally, it was double gold. And not only was it double gold, it was a finalist for best in class. And these are blind tastings, so it wasn't like, oh, these guys are famous. It's the most respected one in the world. So all of a sudden, the Tasting Alliance and the San Francisco International Spirits Competition is saying, this is a double gold spirit. My career as a whiskey maker changed forever. Our brand changed forever, because all of a sudden now we were in that category where people had to take us seriously. And they said, all right, yeah, I'll give these guys a try. And then they sip the whiskey and they go, holy shit, these guys are putting their money where their mouth is. They're working tirelessly to provide something that is so special and good in that bottle. So set this one down if you haven't already. And go to, go to cask strength, which is top right. Now this is that 80 proof you just had at, I think this one's 114.4. I think it's 114.4. Yeah, 114.4 proof. So this is the cask strength version of that became double gold. Now multiple double golds. It's actually our most awarded. The oak is oakier. The smoke is smokier. The banana bread is now baked banana with spices. And it's just delicious. Small sips if you're not used to really, high-powered stuff. Small little sips, really move it around. But you're going to get this amazing flavor profile that's very robust.
It's got a great texture to it as well. Like, it feels really luxurious and full-bodied, and you can really silty. Yeah.
Now, if it's a little too high power for you, just wait. It'll dry out. You all right, mama? I know, sometimes I do that too. But you taste all of that flavor. That is 114 proof. But there's so much flavor in there. You get a little bit of that residual sugar, a little maple syrup on the back. I mean, this is cask strength. This is unfiltered, right out of the barrel. It's pretty special for us. And this has been multiple double golds, which we're over the moon about. And I think, Amanda, I don't know where you are, but I think if we get another double gold in San Francisco this year, it'll actually be a platinum brand. 3 double golds in a row for 3 years, which is almost impossible. So I'm going to throw everything at it but the kitchen sink. It's like, I've been planning this blend for a long time. I know where the barrels are. I know which barrels. Don't mess this up for me. But it's really special. So jot down some notes if you have any. But listen, you're sitting here on a Monday drinking cask strength whiskey together. So cheers to you all. Thank you for trying this.
No, it's really cool to be able to try this with you. And we've been holding several talks here throughout the last couple of days. And one thing that keeps coming up is community and, you know, how whiskey and spirits in general have the ability to bring people together. So it's really cool that we are able to try this together with you here today.
We're all together. And that's,
yeah.
You know, one of the things the spirits business has done is really brought whiskey makers together in an industry where a lot of times we're separated by continents and airline travels and stuff where, wow, you taste that beautiful residual sugar on the back end. I mean, that's unfiltered whiskey, but it goes back to that ethos of bringing us all together. Paul and I came from, you know, if you've ever seen Vampire Diaries, I'm sure most of the men here have not, but I'm sure you have daughters or wives or girlfriends who have made you, which is more like, it's like eating bad chocolate. You just get sucked in and you eat more of it and you get a little bit of a stomach ache, but you had a great experience. But we came from the entertainment space, and the show's been seen by over 1 billion people. So when I think it's scale. I think of people enjoying something. But what we learned from this experience was shared experience bonds people. So if you can build a whiskey company that brings people together, where you can now talk about not politics, I'm talking amazing social issues or amazing social topics, agriculture, which I'll get to later. I have a special guest in the house who actually makes our regenerative whiskey, and also who makes our whiskey, our flagship whiskey and our bottled and bond. These are special things, man, to be together doing. So it's on me to provide you with an experience that means something, because at the end of the day, if you're having these conversations around your dinner tables or around at the bar with the bartenders and the general managers and the GMs and the chefs and those servers, then we're doing our job. But it's also too a special time to communicate and come together, because we're so separated by technology. There's something very meaningful about that. And even disputes. You know, I have so many friends that come to me and they say, hey, look, man, because I live in airports, right? So I have a lot of people, it's like a tin can, and I don't always have Aaron with me. A lot of people just come up to me and they corner me and they say, look, man, I got to tell you, my brother and I haven't spoken in 5 years. My wife is upset about it, but you came out with this whiskey. It's called Brothers Bond, and we used to drink whiskey. So I got a bottle. I invited him over, and we sat around the fire, and we drank the bottle, and we had such a special moment and experience. And they fixed their relationship. I mean, these are real things and real people and real stories. And I get chills, and I sometimes get teary eyes thinking about it, which is this is affecting people in their lives. So it's adding value to lives. That means the world. So going to the next one, which is the second one over on the top, the bottled and bond. Brothers Bond, bottled and bond. Say that 5 times. We said we would do this. It took us a long time because this is 7 years. 7 years is a long time. Aged on one floor of one rick house. This is from the San Francisco International World Spirits Competition. 98 points. Double gold. Finalist for best in class. Also 2 from my dear brother Fred Minnick, the Ascot Awards, double platinum. Around the world, internationally recognized now as one of the top 5 whiskeys in the world. Try this. It's 100 proof. It's not quite as strong as 114, but I'll tell you, it is so robust and filled with flavor. This is 51% corn, 39% rye, and 10% malted rye, which is a special sauce.
So good.
It's unbelievable.
It's so good.
What do you think? And so this, again, is at 100 proof, bottled in bond. Bottled in Bond Act of, I don't know if there's anyone familiar with the Bottled in Bond Act of 1897, where bottled in bond came from when you see that. So at the turn of the 20th century, in the late 1800s, right, Pete? Whiskey was like the most counterfeited commodity in America, which is dangerous because bad whiskey kills people. You go blind. You won't go blind from mine, don't worry. But the federal government stepped in to build what's called the Bottled in Bond Act of 1897. And actually, it was the first federal consumer protection law in the United States, was for whiskey. How cool is that? And so it just means that it has to be distilled in one season, in one distillery, in a federally bonded warehouse, right on the Ohio River. At 100 proof, exactly. And so this is like the purity standard that you just can't argue with. But you smell that nose, how complex. Was it something I said, Anthony? But you also, too, you're getting a high rye that you're typically not drinking. Really high rye, 49%. But it's very special. And malted rye is something you're typically not getting. There's a reason for it, right, Pete? A rye is expensive. Malting rye is a pain in the ass. It's an enzymatic, it's a very sticky process. It's quite expensive to do, but it does yield a very special flavor. And this is proof that that flavor is kind of unmatched. And this whiskey out of San Francisco is almost 100 points. It's pretty special.
Absolutely.
And so we are looking to continue this in a way that, again, builds out an uncompromising quality, right, to bring to you. And now that we're in Europe, I think this is really, people are going to go nuts for this in Europe because, 100 proof it's not hot. But you put this on one rock, it opens up within 5 minutes, and 3 or 4 sips later, it's just gone. Mm-hmm. And when you talk to some of the best mixologists and bartenders and chefs in Europe, they love cooking with it, they love sipping it, they love making cocktails with it. So we're really just over the moon. So thank you for trying this. This is a very special blend.
And Ian, you talk very passionately about flavor and about quality. And, you said it was so important to you from the beginning to make sure that you hit that quality and flavor mark. What were your other non-negotiables when you were building the brand with Paul?
Non-negotiables were, it happened to us once where we were, I won't go into detail of how it happened. You know how it happened. It wasn't our fault. Where a batch was unmistakably, it was blended. It was actually right before going to bottle. There were some things that weren't done properly, and the flavor profile was destroyed. And I wasn't there. And it was heartbreaking because this is our baby. This is a very small company. The non-negotiables were uncompromising quality. So when you're dealing with mail, it's called chain of custody, right? Every time you hand off a chain of custody, it's who had it. So where the breakdown is if there's ever a breakdown. And this one batch went out into the world. I ended up gobbling up most of it and spending a lot of money and a lot of time and had my whole team out there going and buying it back. And it was a big mistake, but it was just about rushing and someone doing something that was incorrect. And the non-negotiables were that will never happen again. So you just have to be on it at every single moment, because no one's going to care for your whiskey the way you are. But when you build a team around you that also lives with uncompromising quality, so the non-negotiables were you just don't put things in a bottle that don't work. So if we do a dump and before we run a line, you taste through that dump and you blend through that. And if there's an issue, you fix it. You never bottle what you don't want to drink that's not as close to perfect as you can get it. And that was a non-negotiable. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it causes a lot of pain because you stop a line or you change a date and, it's painful, but you just don't do it. Because once you put it in that bottle and you sell it to someone, you can't take it back. And again, it's not fair to you to buy something that's not as close to perfect as I can get it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's pretty wild. It's unbelievable to be a part of this and to be able to do it. Did you like that bottled in bond? Cool. Thank you for trying it.
No.
Which leads me to, our blended American rye. Try this rye. It's the last one. It's been open now, I think, a little long. So I think you lose a little bit of the bouquet on the nose. Typically, you're going to get a very floral bouquet, but it's now been about a half hour.
I feel like you can still definitely get it.
It's in there for sure.
Still a beautiful aroma.
But this rye, we blended it's a very small category, and a lot of people don't drink rye. But this is 77% rye, 16% corn. It's a 4-grain rye. It's very special. It's still very special.
Yeah.
It's a high rye spice, but there's a little sweetness of corn to back it up. You're going to get that about right now. There you go. That little float of sweetness on the back end. Tiny hint of cream, maybe. You're typically not going to get that from a rye whiskey. You're just not. Mm-hmm. So it was a category that I was nervous because it's a very small category. And you're dealing with only the big dogs. And so we were able to, don't want to waste that. We were able to bottle this, but on the nose, you get a little bit of a floral nose. You're not going to typically get that on a rye. So we're over the moon. So if you know any rye enthusiasts that love rye, try that rye. Do we have water on the table for people? No.
Yeah, Sam.
So before we get into, damn, that rye is amazing.
It's so good. It's so good.
Again, but you're not typically going to get that sweetness on a rye because a lot of rye enthusiasts want a warm, dry rye finish, which you then get, but it's right before that back palate, mid to back palate, you get a little sweetness, which is kind of special. So find the glass that was the straight 80 proof, if you remember where it is. I want to share something.
The first one that you...
The first one that you had, this one. Yeah, so I'm going to pour this one out. If you pour out the 80 proof just in another glass, I want you to try something.
Pour it out, drink it. Basically, we need you to have a free glass because we've got something a bit special coming.
Is that the rye or that's the 80 proof? Yeah, there. Dump out the first one. There you go. All right.
Are we supposed to live this?
Yeah, let this one air. This is a really different blend. It's very special. The distiller, Pete Barger, is here in the back with the beard and the big smile. But this is a regenerative whiskey that we all talked about. This is made from regenerative grains and a proprietary toast profile that is so gosh damn special that I think, don't drink it yet though, don't drink it without me, but just smell this nose. Start moving this whiskey around, smell the nose on this. This is a blend of our 3-year-old and 6-year-old. And the cooperage, what makes this special too is this toasted profile. Taste this, Paul. This toasted profile is a blend of our 3-year and 6-year, but from a northern cooperage, right? So wood from the north of America, it's much slower growth, right? Sorry, it's colder, slower growth, tighter grain, very different flavor profile. It's unfucking believable. Here, let me pour this out. There you go, my friend.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for trying this. Boy, this bottle goes fast, Pete. But smell that nose. That's a toast you don't typically smell. Hey, brother. This is so special, man. So one of the things that's been really special about this and learning, here you go, Melita.
Yes.
In learning all of this is you can char barrels and you can toast barrels. But one of the things that I was super concerned about initially was, whiskey 5, 6 years ago, I was like, damn, man, 4, 5, 6 years to age whiskey is a long time. How in the hell can I get 3-year-old whiskey to taste like 5 or 6-year-old whiskey? Well, Pete Barger taught me a lot about barrel innovation, and he's an innovator in barrel distilling. And the idea is when you're toasting barrels and you're condensing those wood sugars, you're giving that barrel this incredible toast profile. But when you're putting in a distillate that is so pure, we lose about 5 to 7% proof gallons a year because the distillate's so pure. And so you're using a light char. It's not a lot of carbon to get through. So that early distillate interacts with that wood almost damn near immediately. And so what you get is, if you look at the legs on this and you smell that nose, that's that toast in there. And it's really special. Now, it's 95 proof. It's not hot, but you'll never know that it's 95 proof. So give this a bit of a try. It's magic. It's unbelievable.
It's so different to the others that we have tasted. You can see the kind of Brothers Bourbon, Brothers Bond running through them, but it's so different. Like, to me, the nose is like a lot fruitier. And then you have that kind of, again, just lovely caramel, toasted notes.
Caramel, but you can smell the caramel on the nose. A little bit of that alcohol wafts that caramel smell into your nose, but with toasted oak. So it's this just unbelievable nuance. Well, the idea was, this is from regenerative grain that becomes from 5 to 20 miles from the distillery. So what does that mean? Well, we can tell you what field this came from. We can tell you what cornfield, what wheat field. And so we're bringing in something into the whiskey category that no one is. But it rules wine, but in whiskey, no one talks about terroir and season. Right? No one does. And that's what's really special about what we get to do. Regenerative agriculture is what's ultimately going to balance our climate. But it's also going to build, even just in the United States, a very robust $100 billion a year carbon capture food economy. And it's going to happen in Europe as well. And so all of a sudden, all these farmers have all of this money because they're making so much money. They're paying taxes, but the school districts get better. The water districts get better. After school programs get implemented. They're buying new houses, new cars, new clothes. They're going to restaurants more often. They're building the communities from the ground up. Because remember, a tree does not grow from the top down. It grows from the ground up. And so if we can build a carbon sequestering food and industrial agricultural economy, then we all win. And I've seen the data, and I know that will be at zero net carbon in less than 20 years.
That soon.
That soon. Because remember, we can't fight each other and bludgeon each other with our own ideals of, if you just, drive an electric car and use paper straws, the world is going to change. It's not. It doesn't work that way. There's that legacy load of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, and we need to draw it down and biosequester that carbon back into the soil. Well, the only way to do that is through large-scale planned grazing and using regenerative agriculture at scale to sequester carbon and put it back in the ground where it belongs. Now, when you do that, you feed all the vital microorganisms in that soil. Healthier soil, healthier plant, healthier people, healthier economies, healthier societies. It's a really big thing. So if you can, on April 22nd on Amazon, watch Common Ground with us. It's a global watch party. Watch the movie with us. And it will literally change your life. It'll change the way you see the world. So that's why we're so excited. And we're here with the makers of the whiskey that we distill this incredible spirits with. This is how you move the needle. And what's so special for us is we were the first brand. I mean, we came out of the gates as a tiny brand. My co-founder and CEO and fearless leader partner, Vincent Hanna, standing right here. We've been in business for 10 years together. And we have ground our noses into the grindstone. But yeah, we got to be here and spread this message of, hey, there's a way to balance the climate, build a robust agricultural economy, and make the best damn whiskey in the world. That is pretty special.
It is. And I think it's really cool to see more brands and producers in the industry also adopt regenerative farming and understand the importance of it, because
Right.
agriculture is so important to the industry. Whether you're making whiskey, whether you're making vodka, whatever your spirit category, we cannot do it if our planet dies. What do you feel about the movement of regenerative grains being used more broadly across the industry? Do you think we need to move a bit quicker?
We need to move faster. And I remember Vincent and I were at the big discus event in New Orleans in June a couple of years ago. 2023? 2022. Oh my gosh, it was almost 3 years ago. We all got COVID. That was brutal. But I was there with Discus, our dear friends, and our brother who runs it. It's the Distilled Spirits Council of the United States. Can imagine how powerful they are. But the idea was we had a fireside chat, which I wouldn't recommend a fireside chat in New Orleans in June. It's pretty hot. But what I was saying, and I think we pissed a lot of people off, was there were a lot of people in that room. COOs and big executives of, the biggest alcohol companies in the world. And I basically said, you can do a lot more. And what's amazing is how the tide has turned, where as a large scale agricultural or alcohol producer, you are effectively in the agriculture business. So the cool thing is we launched what's called 100millionacres.org. And the idea is to get, even just in the United States, to 100 million acres of regenerative agriculture, which is about 10% of the farmed land in America. Because we know, numbers-wise, that's the tipping point. It'll never go back, right? Because, and I'm not trying to sound crass, but at the end of the day, money talks, bullshit walks. There's more money in regenerative agriculture than conventional agriculture. And that savings is about $400 an acre to a farmer. $400 an acre. Well, we're grain companies, right? We use grains. So in the United States, there's about 200 million grain acres, like production acres, roughly. That's a conservative estimate. There's really more. But if you were to multiply $400 an acre times 200 million acres, it's about $80 billion a year that we send off to foreign countries for agrochemicals. Why would you do that? Let's put that money back into the system have farmers save that money, protect the environment, the air, soil, and water, and build robust agricultural economies. That makes sense. Now the Europeans are like, absolutely that makes sense. The Australians, absolutely that makes sense. In South and Central America and Canada, absolutely that makes sense. In Asia, the Middle East, well, that makes sense. So we are about to build $1 trillion a year carbon capture food economy, starting in the US and in Europe. This is how you move the needle. And you sequester so much carbon that every year you eat what you put out. Because remember, GDPs have to happen. And this isn't like, I stay out of politics. I hate politics. This is just about numbers and about industry, farming, food, spirits, and money. If our climate dies, not just do we die, but our industries die. We can't make great wine anymore. We can't make great spirits. Chocolate is really going to suffer. You start telling people this, they realize, oh my gosh. So we can build this robust agricultural economy where everyone makes money. And we fix the climate because GDPs have to remain. Remember, China is still going to burn coal. India is still going to burn coal. By the way, the United States, we use 25% of the world's oil and we only make 2% of it. That's still going to happen. So instead of fighting each other and destroying our economies, why don't we just use smart agriculture, sequester all that carbon, make better whiskey, better wine, better spirits, better food, and all thrive? That is the future. And Brothers Bond was the first spirits company to ever come out and say, this is what we're doing. Mm-hmm. And we've been writing these 6-figure checks, this tiny little company, to push regenerative agriculture and, to scale it. That's what we do. So I think all the big producers, and we were there in New Orleans, were like, they weren't very happy about that message, but now they get it. So I say to you, thank you from the bottom of my heart for participating and listening and being a part of this, because this is about you and me and our children and our children's children. It's not some high in the sky, hoity-toity, California thinking. No, this is about this is about soil. It's about farming. It's about our lives. That is what's so special. And these conversations are what drive it.
And I think highlighting the financial benefits of it as well and how it can boost the economy, because that's not going to go away, the importance of making money, of strengthening our economy. And it's incredible to hear how actually, if you do take climate change seriously, if you do take making farming better, making our planet better, there are millions, billions of dollars to be made off the back of that.
Hundreds of billions. Hundreds of billions. This is a crazy concept. So that's where we thrive, and we can do it together. And that's what's so amazing. And you know what's so crazy? Started with whiskey. And it's a really amazing entry point. And so we built Kiss the Ground, Common Ground, and we're in production on the third film, Groundswell, which is really the international side of regenerative agriculture. But if you can, and tell your friends and your colleagues and your bosses and your siblings, April 22nd, watch Common Ground with me and the Global Watch Party. This film will change your life. And so the idea is, and this is something we talk a lot about, Paul, we talk a lot about, Pete, which is giving people this premium experience in whiskey without having them to pay $1 more. You can't charge people more for something that's going to help the planet. You've got to build it into the system where you're getting that experience. You're just changing your supply chain. And that's what every company here has the ability to do. Where you source your resources from, your raw material, you have the option to help build those supply chains to be regenerative. Whether you work for Diageo or Pernod or Proximo or Anheuser-Busch or any of these big, ginormous companies, You have the ability to be the leaders in the industry. Do you want to take the reins and make it happen? If you don't, that's fine, because we're going to do it anyway. And that's where we thrive. And that's why we're so proud to be here with you, here at Pro Wine, with our dear friends at the Spirits Business. Thank you for listening and really diving in to what we have to say, because what we're doing, we talked about this before, and I've talked about this a lot with you, Paul, and a lot with Pete. When you look at the data, and it's kind of crazy, and this isn't like doom or gloom kind of bullshit. We only have, because of degraded soils, right, because of conventional agriculture, we only have about, well, let's say conservatively, we have enough topsoil, healthy topsoil, for about 60 harvests. So what the hell does that mean? We have less than 60 years of food left on planet Earth. That's unacceptable. When we have rovers on Mars and we're building trains on the moon, why is it that we have less than a century of food left on the planet? Half of a century. It's unacceptable. So let's shift that narrative. And let's build out a green trillion-dollar economy per year for our children to thrive in, where our climate is balanced, our food systems are abundant, our economies are bustling, and we have the best damn spirits in the world to celebrate together. Cheers to you all.
Okay.
Isn't this beautiful? Smell this. Taste this whiskey.
It's so good, so delicious. And
Brothers Bond Regenerative Bourbon.
yeah, such
Thank you,
delicious.
Pete Barger.
And I think it's great
Thank you,
to
Paul
know
Lux.
that you can make better choices with the spirits that you buy. And
Yeah.
you can still have delicious products. Know they're good for the planet. Know that we're supporting farmers with better wages, helping them to make more money as well. And really, it's from the ground up. You're able to just make a better choice, but still have a delicious product that you like. And you've just had an incredible investment in Brothers Bond as well. You just secured $7.5 million, which is amazing. Bigger and better things, I imagine. What's next for you guys?
You know, it's so wild. I mean, to these big companies, $7.5 million is peanuts. But if anyone in this business is in the spirits or wine or RTD business, in this new global economy where a lot of big companies are really winding down and falling apart, for us to be able to build $7.5 million of investment, and thank you, Anthony, too, wherever you are, that's very special. And that's to build out this global expansion. Now, we are facing some geopolitical stuff with tariffs and what have you, but we stay focused on building our brands with our customers, right? So we'll all navigate this together, but it just shows you the promise of Brothers Bond and how much faith people have in our brand and what we built to give us almost $10 million to go and expand globally. That is a big deal. So I take that with great pride, and I take that with a stride of confidence and saying, hey, I know we can build this into the future. And that investment, that level of investment, gives us the ability to do that. Even in a geopolitical world where we're dealing with tariffs and stuff, my commitment is to you, not to them. And that's where we thrive. And that's what's very special, because this stuff will all cycle through and they'll figure it out. But what matters is these moments when you're with your friends and your family, whether you're celebrating an amazing triumph or you're having a really horrible day and celebrate or dealing with something terrible. We're here to talk. We're here to bond. It is literally time to bond with Brothers Bond.
Yeah. And I think, again, it's cheers to you. It's
Thank
great
you.
to have you mention that, I think, because, you know, tariffs, the geopolitical tensions you mentioned, they are such big issues for the industry. And I
Yes.
think, you know, when you have such a platform where you can voice that and kind of say, you know,
Yeah.
I get it. You are in the industry. You know the pressures that everybody is facing. And we have a talk tomorrow morning just on that. But in other aspects, in terms of what is exciting and what you love, and I know you, I mean, if you have engaged already, Ian is very hands-on in terms of the recipe and how the, you know, what goes into the bottle. And I remember when we first jumped on a Zoom call, it was just sample bottles coming out of your ears. Like, you are very hands-on.
Yeah.
What do you find exciting and where do you see opportunity for American whiskey?
So American whiskey in Europe and Asia and the Americas, there's typically only a couple of big brands. And I'm here to say that's not American whiskey only. We are here to show you that there is a nuance and a quality, right, that we can provide at the right cost, something that's meaningful. I always said Brothers Bond is craft, but it's scale. Because you got to remember, again, and it goes back to coming from the entertainment world, our show has been seen by 1.2 billion people. So that's about roughly 1 in 8 people in the world who've seen our show, who know this IP. So I think in these sort of global scalable numbers and how to basically give people community and experience, because that experience is what bonds people, right? So I'm here for you, for that, because I know what I love to do in my own family. I love to bond. I love to share wine and spirits over meals and over fires and living and growing and learning and crying and laughing and the triumph and the struggle. That's real life, right? It's not always some beautiful, perfectly lit cocktail in some fancy bar. It's not always that, right? That's where we thrive. And so I want to offer that to the global community, the global whiskey community, that's why we're here. And we will bring it to you at the right time, at the right price, to basically say we're here because we can't imagine being anywhere else. Because those experiences, that sort of time to bond theme, means everything to us. And I know it means everything to you, even separate from my brand. Forget about my company. That's what you want in your own life. I'm just here for those moments to help catalyze them and bring a little bit of nuance and fun into them. That's all we're here for.
I think that's a great point to make. And I was talking to someone else recently and they were saying something similar, like, we're not, saving lives or, curing cancer or anything, but life is also for living. And the drinks industry is a really important part of that. It's a really important way, as we've said several times, bringing people together, offering moments of community, of socializing, and to create moments, whether it's in good times or bad times, a space where people can feel like they have something in common, whether it's a glass of whiskey, a cocktail, a favorite bar, a favorite restaurant. Yeah. To meet, and that is your common ground that you can fall on.
Well, that's the idea, right? And that's why we named our movie Common Ground, which is, again, this is not a political statement. I'm not to sound like an asshole, but I stay away from politics. But it ends up being that the ground we stand on is really our only common ground. The soil is our only common ground, and it's everything we have. So to bond over food and beverage is everything. Because remember, the greatest enemies of the African savanna will always come together around the watering hole. And bars and restaurants and family tables are watering holes. And that is what the spirits business is about. Bringing people together, creating experience, going back out into the world as better people. That is a big swing. And that is why we're here. So if you take anything from this, if you're bored out of your mind or you actually really love the whiskey you had, just remember that there are people out there like us, right, who are building things for you and for us, building them in our own image because we love what we do. And we want you to be able to share wonderful experiences with your loved ones and friends and family. guess what? Not to sound too cerebral about it, it's hard out there. Like, life is not easy
Yeah.
by any stretch of the imagination. So if we can add those tidbits of amazing experience, then we have succeeded. And we have succeeded en masse. So that's where I come from when you think about that, like, over 1 billion people seeing something that I created every day of my life, and now being able to bring whiskey into that is really special.
Yeah.
It's really, really special. Thank you for inviting us to be here and doing
We're
that.
so happy to have you here. I've looked around the room and I think everyone has enjoyed being able to sample these whiskeys with you. So thank you for
Smell the
talking us
nose on
through
this
them.
now. Smell how this has evolved.
Yeah.
Pete, this toast is just,
It does keep changing in the glass.
it's unbelievable, man.
Yeah.
And it's like, you think this bottle sequestered more carbon than it produced is just a game changer.
Yeah.
It's a game changer. And to be able to sit on an international stage and talk to you all, that's the other thing I wanted to hear. If you have a moment, can we open it up to a couple of questions? If anyone has any questions at all, go ahead. I know it's a bit loud in here, but just ask.
Yeah. My last question to you was going to be, is the region, is that now in Europe as well, or is it just US at the moment?
In the U.S. at the moment,
Yeah.
we have to do a couple more dumps. But we will have it here soon.
So this is really special that we're being able to taste this with Ian today. Thank you for opening it and allowing us to all have a sample. We are open to questions. I think we're going to have a microphone. I will come and run it.
Oh, great. Yeah.
To you.
Having a microphone is
But
really
yeah,
awesome.
please do ask some questions.
How cool is this, man?
You talked about the importance of regenerative agriculture.
Yeah.
So how were you able to choose the distillery? And because the importance of the climate and everything, I'm sure must have been a tough decision.
Yeah, we made this with my dear brother back there, Pete Barger. He's a civil engineer by trade, actually an environmental engineer by education, but became a civil engineer. And his amazing wife, Vienna, comes from a very robust Southern California construction company. Well, I'll tell you, when you put a civil engineer and a construction human being together, you build one of the most beautiful distilleries you'll ever see in your life. And using regenerative grain and using everything from the methane capture to the hot water recycle systems, everything, you get this nuance of quality that you just don't typically get, because people typically don't have the time, energy, or wherewithal, or not to sound crass, but like the balls to do that, right? Because it can become cost prohibitive unless you're an engineer and you know how to do it. So that goes back to creating that distillate, right? When you create a distillate that is so pure, you're typically relying on a barrel less to pay for the sins of distillation. So you're getting a much earlier distillate that is so damn good, warehousing it less, getting it out into market quicker, and sequestering carbon while you do it. That is a very unique space and time. It takes a tremendous amount of foresight, nearsight, foresight, and investment, but then you're off to the races. And I think now more people than ever are following this lead and saying, well, they can't do it at this volume yet, but they will. And that's what's really special to us is, being able to do that at this scale it's magic. And no one's talking about this. Oh, by the way, one thing I forgot to mention, and I say this in all humility, I mean this really with, if everyone can listen to these numbers, this is gonna kind of blow your mind. So I've been working on Kiss the Ground and Common Ground with Josh and Rebecca for 14 years. It's a long time. It took us 7 years to make the first movie. And I initially filmed the first footage for Kiss the Ground in Zimbabwe with Alan Savory, like the grandfather of soil, 14 years ago.
Wow.
It's a long time. But when we launched Kiss the Ground in 2019, actually 2020, there were 250,000 acres of regenerative agriculture in the United States. I just talked to Josh on Wednesday, We are now at 50.1 million acres in 5 years. Think about that movement. The needle has moved faster than anything has ever moved in history. From 250,000 acres to 50.1 million acres in 5 years. This is how we change the planet. That is insane.
Yeah.
And I am more proud of that than anything. I mean, obviously, other than my children and our whiskey. 50 million acres. On our way to year end at 100 million acres. That is going to jump the pond to Europe, and we are going to start scaling regenerative agriculture here in Europe. That is big news. That should make you feel really good about the world. And remember, it's not doom and gloom. We're not going to perish. We're not going to fall apart with endless wars and drought and misery. We are going to be okay. How cool is that, man?
Yeah, we just need to make better decisions. And there's
Yeah,
so much
but
opportunity,
guys,
like you were
let's
saying.
have a little round of applause for each other. We're not gonna fall apart. We're gonna thrive.
Yeah.
And it all started with whiskey.
Amazing.
How amazing is that? So thank you for the question.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Thanks
from the
for calling
floor?
me on my shit.
In the beginning, you kept mentioning the flavor of banana bread. How did you decide that that's what you want to go for with the flavor profile of the whiskey that you imagine for your brand as well?
So crazy thing. That's a wild question, and I'm glad you asked it. So check this out. I was Vincent Hanna, my dear brother and CEO and co-founding partner, came from the wine business. We actually had a wine company together. We built this flavor profile on a number of pillars, right? One was nuance of flavor. But what I learned years later from Fred Minnick, my dear brother Fred Minnick, I'm sure you guys all know that name, one of the most famous whiskey critics in the world, a very dear brother of ours. He was one of the most famous wine critics. He was actually he was in war, and they used PTSD therapy for veterans. They used taste and smell therapy for treating PTSD in veterans. And he used that therapy, but he also realized he had one of the most complex palates in the world. And what he told me was, as a whiskey maker, the smells from your childhood end up dictating what you do as an adult. So I grew up very poor in Louisiana. And one of the things my grandmother and my mother made, my mother was actually from an Irish family, and my other grandmother was from a French family. So I'm French and Irish mostly. Banana bread was a big part of my childhood because we were very poor. And it was something a mom and grandma could make. Slather a bunch of lard or butter on that, give it to the kids, send them out. High nutrient value, a lot of flavor, all of it. Go. So I grew up on banana bread. And so Paul Wesley and I, remember, for 2 months, we had two different blends. MGP, we had one that smelled like baking spice and one that smelled like banana, like fresh banana. And I said to Paul Wesley, it was like 2:00 in the morning. I said, come hell or high water, I'm going to spend whatever time it takes to bring this together because I love banana bread. That's what I grew up with as a child. 2 months later, we had a blend that was literally banana bread on the nose. And we still make that today, every day, a number of times a year. And we go through thousands of barrels to make it happen. And that's where Brothers Bond has that, like, literally like grandma made a banana bread. Distinctive. Was from that. Was from the bayous of Louisiana and the fields of, southwest Mississippi. Was banana bread. That's where it comes from. And now we're in Germany smelling and nosing these notes, and that's where it comes from. So it was very cool.
Thank you.
Thanks for asking that question. It's very nostalgic for me because it's very real and meaningful, you know?
Great questions. Anybody else have anything they would like to ask Ian while we have him on stage? Yes.
And then we'll go to the bar and we'll have some cocktails.
You were talking about how you want to go for triple gold to become platinum. Can you give us some small details about the new flavor or what you're thinking about?
Yeah, so I don't want Amanda to hear this from the Tasting Alliance, but so the thing about, Vincent and I had a long conversation about this, and actually we have to have a big conversation about this. I found out about this 2 years ago when we first won, 3 years ago, we won double gold. And the idea is inventory management is a big deal in the whiskey business. Whether you're in whiskey or wine, if you're in this business, inventory management is a big thing. Now, 7 years ago, 10 years ago, if you asked me what inventory management was, I would say like, what the hell are you talking about? But we're a tiny company. We don't have people that do inventory management. I do it myself, and I do it with our partners and our distillers. Well, to sit on a world stage and say that you are a whiskey maker, you better come with the chops to say, I am going to make the best whiskey I can with whatever tools I have and whatever palate will give me. And for the San Francisco International Spirits Competition submissions this year, I fly back and tomorrow I get we just barrel batch blended the new submissions for 2025 for San Francisco for the Tasting Alliance. And it's exciting. It's also nerve-wracking. It is nerve-wracking, right? Because you think, we have these amazing awards. You never want to downgrade. So how can I just get better and better or maintain? And so you go into barrels. But if you're selecting barrels, you're selecting hundreds and hundreds of barrels. So how do you find that nuance? Well, you say to your team, here's what we're doing. And you go through every freaking barrel. And you understand how they taste, where they are, what those flavor profiles are, and how to bring them together in balance and harmony. And you go. And you stand by what you think is the right thing to do, and you submit. And it's a very special moment. It's nerve-wracking, but it's exciting. And wish me luck.
I think
Just wish me luck.
Given what we've tasted today, such delicious whiskies, I don't think luck comes into it at all. I think you've got a really strong brand, a great story, and we're really grateful for you to take the time to share it with us today. Please put your hands together for Ian Somerhalder.
Thank you for being here. Let's have some cocktails. Thank you, Melita. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.